Greetings. So before I move into well-being, I want to provide some context. I've been coaching since 1999, coaching professionally as a certified professional coach since 1999. And in all that time between 1999 and now, I believe there are three reasons that folks come to me for coaching. And while the methods and approaches and techniques that we use now have changed dramatically or somewhat, the reasons that folks come for coaching, I don't think have changed all that much. I want to show you these three reasons that folks come to me for coaching. And oddly enough, this comes from an overhead that I created in 1999. And I don't think, again, the reasons have changed all that much. So take a look at these and I'll come back to you on the other side. A second area of context I want to provide is why clients come to me. And that is, what are the life areas that they're seeking to work on in their time with me as a coach? So I'm going to show you these 10 life areas, 9 or 10 life areas. They go by rather quickly. So feel free to pause the video with each one, read it, and then click and continue as you see fit. And again, I'll see you on the other side. So I believe that well-being is an integral part of the coaching process, simply because do we want clients, or do I want a client to actually achieve the goal, the intention, the aim they set out to do, but at the same time be walking around miserably, sad, depressed, angry, feeling unseen, unacknowledged, yet they're successful in their work. So for me, there's got to be that equal balance between goal achievement and well-being. So the first session of my coaching process is a purpose statement. And at the end of that session, a client will have crafted a purpose statement, which he or she will tweak over the course of the next 6 months, the length of my program. Whatever the purpose statement is, it also ends with a heightened sense of well-being. Again, simply because do I want to be successful at achieving my goals, and at the same time be unhappy and depressed and angry, resentful, jealous, and the like. It's also my experience that there are those who need to be in a state of heightened well-being in order to move forward and achieve their goals. On the other hand, there are those who need to achieve their goals in order to experience a heightened state of well-being. And I think the vast majority of folks are a combination of both of those states. So let's move to the notion of well-being. And here are two definitions that I'm comfortable with and my clients seem to be comfortable with. So take a look. There are a number of practices and exercises that clients engage in to move from the 50,000 foot level, the conceptual level of well-being, to working with well-being at 9 o'clock Monday morning. So one of the first exercises we do is to begin to clarify for each particular client what well-being means to him or her. What words would they use or phrases would they use to describe their feeling of being on top of the world, or their feeling it doesn't get any better than this, or their experience the heightened sense of adventure or excitement, or when they're feeling an aliveness or a juiciness, or their feeling of deep sense of satisfaction and inner peace. What 1 or 2 or 3 word descriptors would they use to describe those states that they're experiencing? So here are some descriptors from clients over the years that describe what being in a heightened state of well-being would look like or feel like. So given that well-being is an important component of the overall coaching process, and actually an important component of how we actually live our lives, the 2 questions we want to ask at the outset are, what supports a heightened sense of well-being, and what gets in the way of a heightened sense of well-being? So to answer these questions, we want to consciously and proactively track our well-being. So the typical client usually chooses between 5 and 8 well-being qualities. And for each of these qualities, we create a grid, each column representing a week. And so the day before a client comes to me for the next session, he or she sits down in a place that is quiet, without distraction, without disruption, maybe lights a candle, maybe burns some incense. Often they will play some classical music, and I always suggest strings, because strings connect directly to the heart, and to ask themselves for each specific quality, what was my experience of that quality during this past week? And this is a chance to drill down and to become aware and conscious of actually what was your experience of this particular quality over the past week. Being curious, not judgmental, about what it was that supported them to experience a heightened sense of well-being with respect to this particular quality, and what got in the way of their experiencing a heightened sense of well-being with respect to this particular quality. And on a scale of 1 to 10, what was their experience of this quality? And that's where you see the columns that are colored. They start at the bottom from 1 or 10, and at the top it's 100 or 10. And to indicate to what degree did they experience the quality that they are working on. This is a really important piece for a number of reasons. The first reason is becoming aware of one's mind, what thoughts are going through one's mind with respect to telling the truth about your experience, their experience of this quality, and listening to the inner judge and the inner critic who might want to shame or guilt the person into giving a number that may not be true, may not be factual. It's also an opportunity for a client to get into their bodies. And while the mind might say one thing, the body might say something else. And this is another really important piece of the inquiry. So I'm going to digress for a second just to talk about another piece of this exercise. And that piece of this exercise is also asking oneself 3 questions. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? And what am I sensing in my body? So in the 1960s, there was a groundbreaking landmark book Molecules of Emotion, written by Candace Pert. And basically what it says is that emotions are in the body. The thought may be in the mind, but emotions are in the body. Did you ever hear this scenario? Some might think it's silly, but it's worth using. So person A says to person B, "How are you doing?" And person B says, "Great." And person A says, "Well, you forgot to tell your face." It's trite, it's silly, but it's factual. That oftentimes when we think things are okay, when we want to think things are okay, our body is telling us differently. Emotions are in the body. And this is really a great opportunity to see how this works, experience how this works by paying attention to the physiological sensations in the body. So I'm going to show you, and I've done this in previous videos, a vocabulary of emotions and then a list of physiological sensations that one can experience in the body. Every emotion has a physiological counterpart in the body. So when they're sitting and doing this inquiry, it's really imperative, it's really important that they stay present, listen to their thoughts, and also at the same time focus on their body. So I just want to show you these two graphics, and then I'll continue after that. So as that short little silly scenario suggests, our body is our best barometer of what's going on in our life. If we really, really, really want to know how we're doing in our life, we need to check out our bodies, not just listen to our mind, but check out our bodies. As for the truth, the reality of our life situation really, really is. As the client is sitting quietly and reflecting on each of these well-being qualities, he or she is asking himself, the following self-reflective questions. Over the course of the last week, on a scale of 1 to 10, or 10 to 100, what was my experience of this particular quality? What could I have done or not done? How could I have been or not been? What could I have had or not had to move that number up a half a point, or 3/4 of a point, or 1 point, or 2 points? What kept me from being a point or two below the number I experienced? The goal of this exercise is consistency. This is not about peak experiences. What have I seen about myself, my well-being over the last week as a result of this experience, this exercise? If I did not make positive movement today towards my stretches, towards my goals, with respect to my well-being qualities, what got in the way? And is this the first time it got in the way, or is this a pattern developing that I could explore? And how do I feel as a result of reflecting on the general notion of these scores? What patterns do I see developing? Are these incidents, coincidence, or are they truly patterns? What am I seeing about myself with respect to these patterns? And am I spreading myself too thin? Am I overwhelmed with tasks of other obligations? And finally, what have I seen about myself? What have I learned about myself in this time spent reflecting on my well-being qualities over the past week? So there it is, some information on well-being, information that can support you to be more proactive and more conscious when it comes to dealing with your own sense of well-being. I've also included 4 operating principles that affect well-being and 10 barriers that may keep you from experiencing a heightened sense of well-being. So thank you for watching this video. Thank you for taking the time. I would ask you to share it with others for whom you might think it might be beneficial. I wish you well on your journey with respect to your relationship to your well-being, and take good care.